Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a VK100-01P. It's a Tier 8 German heavy tank. It's located on the northeast spawn of Karelia, and this one is under the command of marke12. Now, he's been marking his heavy tanks at the moment, going through the VK100-01P, which was designed by Porsche, and well, was his contribution towards the heavy tank design. Basically, this was the first big heavy tank other than the Löwe, which of course was the Lion. That one wasn't designed by Porsche, but Porsche put this one together to try and match Hitler's requirements for a super heavy tank that could take on the enemy. It was originally supposed to be around 100 tons in weight, but the weight just kept creeping upwards, and eventually it got very, very heavy indeed, and effectively needed a complete redesign. It's armed with a 128mm gun, capable of 440 alpha, which is actually quite high at tier 8s for a standard tier 8 tank, because the same gun in the Scorpion actually only gets 390. Now, it is a heavy tank, as I did say. In actual weight, at the moment, it's 130 tons. That's fully loaded, 120 tons empty. It's a bit of a monster when it comes to armor as well. Very, very heavily armored indeed. At the front, it's got 230mm on the front of the turret and 200mm on the front of the hull, and it's all very well angled as well. He spotted his first enemy. Oh, nice shot. Claims 432, which is a low roll. Yep, that IS is not a happy bunny now because he's lost most of his hit points. He's about to lose the rest. Yep. And he gets another one. This time a high roll for 481, and the IS is no more. He's back in the garage. Now, it is one of the stages, or intermediate stages, on the way to the Mouse, the tier 10. First there was this tank, and originally they said that it was going to be called, or somebody suggested it was going to be called the Mammoth or Mammoth, but then they changed the name to Mouse or Mauschen. But in fact, actually, there were two other tanks with similar designs, and of course the Mauerbreaker was after the war, but the Mauschen was during the war, and of course that was a separate design. Very similar to the Mouse itself. And he knows there's an enemy tank up there, and that Progetto's not going to stand up very well. Yep, look at that. Even just firing around at the tracks area is going to do a huge amount of damage, and the Progetto is no more. And the kill shot actually went to the VK3002D. I think the Marky is just trying to get damage at the moment. And I'm not sure if he was being sarcastic to his teammate there for taking the kill. Certainly there's a lot of people trash talking at the moment. I know that Marky just wants to get damage. That's what he's after at the moment. He needs as much damage as he can to mark this vehicle. And he can see an AMX M449 Liberté just around the corner. And I have the feeling he's going to go for it. He's not going to stay up on the horseshoe and shoot at the enemy. He's going to go down here and confront the enemy face to face, because that's basically what these super heavy tanks were designed to do, to take on the enemy and confront them face to face. Well, that E25 is not feeling too well now, and he's out of the game. Or was he? No, it was actually a T25 AT that died, not the E25, but he's next. Okay, so that's his first kill. But what a lot of damage he's got now. 2,000 hit points already. And he's found the Liberté, who bounces around off his armor. Now, that was poorly timed, actually. But you can forgive him, because he's desperate to get as much damage done as he can. But you notice he's only using some premium ammo. He's not using normally premium ammo, because actually he doesn't do that. Most of the time he plays with just standard ammo. Okay, he's spotted an AMX. Oh no, it's a turtle. Now, Arty's firing at him and missing. The turtle gets one into him, tries to pull back. and he pumps one in. He pumped in a premium round. He reloaded it as soon as he could see the turtle because he thought he needed the extra pen, and he did get it through. He got 397. Oh, and the turtle's gone. And he got the spotting assist on that one as well. So he's loaded another armor-piercing round, and he's going after that AMX M449 Liberté, the one with the tricolor. Hello. Yep, pumps one into his rear. 396, picks up some spotting assists, and he blocks some damage. The Lorraine just won't leave him alone. He's constantly firing rounds in. There's only 4 enemies left now. They've got an AMX 5100, an ISU 152, a Borsig who's got no armor basically, and the Lorraine 15550 who can run away if he wants to. He's got the speed, but the question is, where does he run away to? Because basically there's nowhere to go. Going for lower plate. Oh, no, that didn't work out well. Standard reload, 14.38 seconds. It is kind of long. You can see that Marky's got it down to 12.12. Oh, the Lorraine's there. He can't do anything about the Lorraine. He's trying to get closer to these guys. There's only 3 enemies left. The Lorraine's making a run for it. Well, wasn't enough lead on the target there. The AMX is going to get one shot in, I think. The question is, where's the aim for? There are very few weak spots on this thing. As you can see, they're just bouncing rounds off him. It's a nightmare for tier 8 tanks to take on one of these. So when you do get a tier 8 game, it's rather fun if you happen to be in the BK. But if you go to a tier 9 game, then it's the other way round. He pumps one into the ISU 152, gets 460, which is the high roll. The 152 is trying to run away, but there's nowhere to him to run to. So he's running right into the jaws of an enemy tank, and that's the end of his game. Wow, look at all those marks on the front of the vehicle. Well, that was an ace tanker game for marke12 in the VK100-01P. In fact, that was his first game of the very day. So yes, he started it off with a really good game, an easy game for him to play because he was just basically assaulting the enemy as fast as he could. This thing doesn't move very quickly. It's only got 20 kilometers an hour top speed, but yeah, he was just going from one target to the next. He got a shell proofer there for blocking more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, a spotter for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, and a bruiser medal as well for getting at least 5 critical hits. He got 5 exactly, but his win rate from that battle was 4,630, which is Super Unicum standard. A very good result indeed. Let's have a look at team score. Well, he did get the highest damage in the game, but it wasn't 20% of the enemy hit pool, and that's why he didn't pick up the high caliber. 3,298 went to Marky. The second highest damage was the Progetto. He took a massive amount of hit points out of him, 2,819. And the third highest damage went to the ISU 152K on his own team with 2,525. When it came to kills, though, unfortunately, he only got the 1. He could have had a lot more, actually, considering the fact that he was blasting away at enemy tanks and taking away most of their hit points, and his teammates were coming in for the kill steal the moment he'd fired, making an easy win for them. The highest number of kills in the game turned out to be the Progetto 46, who got 3 kills, and then 2 kills went to the ISU 152K, the Scorpion, and the Super Hellcat. And you can see everyone else either got just 1 kill or nothing at all, with Marky getting the most damage in that one. When it came to base XP, yep, he got that one though. He's got 2 out of 3. He got 1,505 base experience points in the VK. That's a very good score. 929 to the Scorpion and 809 to the ISU 152K, which means he was the only one to get over 1,000 and a decent score over 1,000 as well. He fired only 12 rounds in the game. Got 8 direct hits on the enemy and 8 penetrations. So yes, he did get a few shots that didn't hit target, such as the one where he was trying to fire for the Lorraine, who was making a run for it, and unfortunately just didn't connect because he didn't give enough lead. And then obviously tried to get shots on the ISU 152, and he went for the lower plate, but it didn't work. You shouldn't actually go for the lower plate. You should go for the plate that's directly right next door to where the gun is, on the right of the gun, and with that flat armor there, you should be able to go straight through. 3,298 hit points of damage, of which 913 were done at more than 300 meters. So he did most of his damage at close range. 7 hits received from the enemy, none of them penetrated, and 2 hits by way of splash damage as well. 2,445 hit points of damage blocked by armor. He spotted 4 enemy vehicles, damaged 6 of the enemy, killed 1, so he was very close to getting a Confederate medal as well. 3,884 hit points of spotting assist in that game. He earned 51,760 credits on a free-to-play account, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables took away 10,642 credits profit. He got 1,505 base XP, times 2 for the first victory, 3,010 experience points altogether. The best thing to do is, because we've got 3 replays featuring the VK, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the armor profile for this tank, and then I'll put the next 2 replays in the next video, the very next video I do. So let's have a look at the armor for the VK. Here's the VK 101P. You can see the armor, well, it's quite strong at the front of the vehicle. 200 millimeters on the upper plate. Even the lower plate is 135, but with the angling comes out at 218. So it's very difficult for you to penetrate that, even with standard rounds. Most people try to use premium rounds and go through that plate if they can. The alternative is to actually try and get through the cupola. But again, if you look at the cupola, it's actually 220 millimeters again, and effectively can be stronger depending on where you hit it. So there are precious few weak spots that you can actually aim for. If I go to the live version straight away, you can see they would say go for the lower plate, because it's only 135 millimeters and you're coming up at only 200 millimeters. If you go for this spot here, you're looking at 220 to 240 millimeters of penetration needed, because it's very, very strong indeed. There is a weak spot just here, but it's very, very small. You can see 230 millimeters, but because of the roundedness of the turret, it actually goes down to 231. But if you go a little further down, it pops up very suddenly because of the angling. We'll go back to the collision model for the moment. If we turn the things on sideways, or if we angle this just slightly, you can see the side armor of 130 becomes closer to 180. The side of the turret's very strong. It's 160 millimeters, so you're going to need at least 170, 180 millimeters of pen to get through it. Same with the cupola, 170 there to get 170 through. Plus, of course, you've got to remember these skirts here are actually spaced armor. There's skirts that go over the actual track areas, the bogies. And so, because that's what Hitler wanted. He wanted armor that could actually protect the tracks from being tracked, and therefore the vehicle could keep moving even though it was taking substantial damage. But yes, it does act as spaced armor of 100 millimeters, then 40 millimeters, then another 100 millimeters. So that is a lot of armor on the side of the vehicle. And then if we go to the back of the vehicle, you can see even the back of the turret's 140 millimeters, and the very back of the tank as well is 80 millimeters and 40 millimeters spaced because of the covers over the tracks. So it's a very difficult tank to take down. If I go back to the live model, you can see that from the front, it's next to impossible to get through. Your best chances of penetration is on the side of this thing, if you can get it on the side. If I rotate it round to the rear, you can see the armor actually improves a little at the rear of the vehicle because of that spaced armor over the tracks. So yes, it's a very difficult tank. The best way to take one of these down is to try and get a shell through the side if you lack penetration. If you do have penetration, just try to shoot between the tracks if you can. Or if you have got masses of penetration because you're tier 9 or tier 10, then you just pop a shell straight through the cupola. You should be able to do that, no problem at all. Let's have a quick look at the modules. Okay, you can see this Super Heavy's got the driver up front with his driver's mate, and he's the radio operator as well. There's massive ammo racks that run along the sides of the vehicle here. You can see here it's all down one side and partially on the right-hand side of the vehicle. The commander, the tank commander, is the one with the cupola up there, and the gun is on the left-hand side of the vehicle with the loader directly behind him. So he's lining the shots up and the loader's shoveling the shells in. There's two loaders, by the way. One's behind the tank commander as well. And there's another big ammo store, the ready rack. It's actually in the rear end or the bustle of the turret. In fact, it's like that on the Tiger II, if you remember correctly. They've put those this area with those massive shells. Now remember, these shells are very, very big indeed. They're 128mm, and they were one-piece shells. In fact, originally it was going to be a single solid shell that would have to be manhandled into the breech, and that was almost too much for one man to lift on his own. It needed two men to shovel the shell in, but they were thinking about going to a two-part shell and a 15cm gun instead of the 128. But of course, all of these design got thrown out along the way as they kept redesigning the mouse, and so the VK itself is a bit of an oddity, which never actually came into being. They never actually built any of these. It was just the first design blueprint of a 120-ton predecessor of the mouse. The engine at the back, it's a very big engine generating over 1,000 horsepower. It's got sandwiched between two big fuel tanks, and the transmission's right at the rear of the vehicle as well. Generating, if I remember correctly, it's got a lot of power in that engine. I think it's actually, the final engine was 1,200 horsepower, but original one was just 1,000 horsepower. And they were having a lot of difficulty trying to generate that much horsepower to move that much metal. So it's good in the end that this tank didn't get built on a production line, because it would have required a massive overpowering of the tank. In other words, the engine itself would not have been capable of pushing that weight around, and it constantly would have failed. And in fact, actually, that's what happened with a lot of German tanks, even the Tiger IIs for that matter. They were just too heavy for the engine that was designed to actually drive them. And eventually it just causes the engine to fail. So in a good sense, it's good in the sense that they were thinking them that way, because it would have handicapped the Germans. If they had actually gone down that line, though, it would have been very bad for them, because they would have had lots of engine failures along the way. So I hope you enjoyed that first game, an ace tanker with Marky just driving straight at the enemy and continuing to drive and just taking them out. As I said, we've got another couple of replays coming up. Well worth watching, so please do stick around on our channel and give them a look. If you enjoyed this replay, please give it a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.